When you're born into a fire, let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, hate is base, the world's mistake. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. And we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, hate is base, the world's mistake. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, hate is base, the world's mistake. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. And we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, hate is base, the world's mistake.
We wanted to pay tribute tonight to Don West, who passed away right before the new year and one of the greatest voices Impact Wrestling has had. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Making an Impact. Before we start tonight, I have to excuse my co-host Cody. He had a family emergency tonight, so he was unable to do the show with me. But I have none other than my other partner, Ed, joining me tonight to save me. How are
Hello.
you, Ed?
I'm sick. I don't feel good, but I watched Impact, so let's get over.
I like we're on the same boat. I'm sick too. And I did want to say sorry we didn't have a show last week for the year end awards. I figured since we had Cody, my great co-host Cody, do the year end awards with Ed. If you haven't checked that out, go our local establishments on their YouTube channel. They did a really great episode of the year end awards with everybody representing their companies. So we had Cody representing Impact, Mel representing New Japan and Stardom, Ed representing WB and NXT, and another Lauren here, the great Lauren, representing AEW, which was an awesome show. So I figured if Cody was doing that, it was a better way for him to represent Impact that way that and what we have planned in the year and the awards show. But yeah, if you haven't checked it out, check it out on our local establishments YouTube OLE podcast. It was really fun show to watch live. So if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it. And thank you, Mel, for being my other partner here in supporting me being on the chat here tonight with us. Um, but yeah, I figured we'll just get started with the show. I don't know if you probably watched BTI, but probably you didn't because you were here last minute. But thank you.
Yeah. No, I did. I did
um,
not watch BTI.
I skipped this to only watch the matches I usually do with Cody. It was Gisele Shaw versus Kilynn King. I definitely had to watch it because I love Kilynn. I am really excited for her to be part of like Impact tapings. I feel like there was a lot of character development with Giselle doing this match more than anything. She was showing a lot of confidence and disrespecting Kylie in different ways as she could. But I feel like it was a really good, like a good matchup for her compared to Taylor Wilde. I enjoyed it a lot more. I wish it would have been longer than what it was. But they had a good back and forth there, and I feel like I enjoyed it more than I thought I would too. So if you haven't seen that one, definitely check it out on the YouTube channel. They for Impact Wrestling, they have it for free in the last couple, I think 10 minutes of the BCI, if I'm not mistaken. But definitely showing a lot of improvement for Giselle. I think it's just a way of her to get momentum for this year once she gets into the Knockouts title picture, most likely in the next couple months. As we have or announced and added now, they had announced Diana versus Masha versus Taylor Wilde for the number one contender for the Knockouts Championship at Hard to Kill. And earlier today, they announced that Killer Kelly got added to that match too. So that's pretty exciting to have that four-way match there with other ladies. And going to like now that we're thinking of talking about this, they started with Diana coming out to start the show. I thought she was only gonna do a promo at first until I noticed she was sitting down in commentary to watch Masha versus Taylor Wilde. Barry, thank you for stopping by, Jen. I appreciate you. So we had Masha versus Taylor Wilde. Uh, can I say I love Masha's performance at her side of this match, but the part with Taylor, it's just like I feel it was better than it was before in the last couple of weeks, but it still was not the greatest. I feel like Masha definitely gave it to her, so I was hoping Masha will win it. So I was very disappointed that Taylor was the one that won it and the way she did. But at the same time, after the match ended, we had Masha just attacking one of the security guys, and they had to kind of like separate her after the match. And the way they made her look like such a badass after the match, I really enjoyed that end of it. Um, but yeah, it was one of those things. I feel like there was a lot of moments that they concentrated a lot on Diana in commentary and not in the match. There were even some parts that they kept asking her about like the rest of the card, and they asked her about Cardona and Sabin, and she's like, "Well, let's not talk about all the guys. Like the guys have all their time. Let's talk about the girls that we're watching right now." And I like the way she, even as a heel, that she put in the focus on the ladies in the match because they kept talking about the guys and the rest of the matches that they had. Um, but yeah, just it was very fast paced compared to what I thought it was gonna be. But overall, it was a better performance for Taylor, but it was not her greatest either. But I enjoyed Masha more. Did you watch that part, Ed?
I did. Masha is the name's not new to me. Obviously, Masha Slamovich has been big on the Indies for a while. I've seen a few of her matches. Being able to watch an entire match in its entirety. This was Masha was really good in this match. Masha has a defined character, and she knows who she is and what she wants to be. Taylor still
Yeah.
Taylor tries. I'm not sure if these two wrestlers were sure what the other was doing. And I agree. There was a time where it looked like Taylor Wilde was going for a clothesline, and all of a sudden Masha Slamovich fell down, and Taylor Wilde felt like she needed to fall down too. Because Masha didn't fall down the way you fall down for a clothesline. It's like she saw something else coming. There was a couple times where I saw Taylor Wilde pull away from the punch before the punch even potentially landed. I think cutting to Deonna and asking Deonna so much helped the match in a way, because it gave you something else, anything else to focus on other than having to focus on Masha and Taylor, because unfortunately Taylor's not up to snuff when it comes to some of the rest of these knockouts in the knockouts division, because the knockouts division is such a talented division, because the people in this company are so talented, and we'll get to the reason why I'm saying all of that when we get to the final part of the show. But no, I liked what they did with Masha. I think Masha comes out of this Fatal 4-Way winning the match. It's also nice of Impact to, we talked about 2 weeks ago about how we didn't see what was going to happen next. And Cody kept telling us to wait. All these people are coming back. And I agree that there is a point of waiting, but you've kind of got to... And you can't just force feed us all of this in a week and a half and expect us to be like, yeah, this tastes great. Like, I'm excited for that 4-way match. I really wish it was a triple threat without Taylor Wilde in it. It would be a much better match that way. But Deonna versus Masha versus Killer Kelly is going to be a killer match. And I just wish that there was something more to it other than, well, it's 2 weeks before the pay-per-view, women's match.
Yeah. I was like torn about it because like I said, I thought it was the Deonna promos. I was so happy that she was starting the show itself. But there were parts that I like what she was saying in commentary though, because they were like, oh, I'm here scouting, like watching for the weaknesses, and then doing this and doing that. And then Tom was like, well, you're not really working though. You're taking that off. And she's like, well, I'm smart though. I'm not working it. Look at me healthy. I'm going to sleep great tonight. I'm not wrestling 2 weeks before the show starts. And here I am scouting for the weaknesses of my opponents. And then I like how she pointed out more Masha than anything in this part, because she kept saying, Masha doesn't plan. She doesn't strategize the way I do. That's not something that Virtuosa does. It's like, I learned from the weaknesses, and I exploit those weaknesses. And then when they brought in about Taylor, and she's like, well, Taylor hasn't really done anything in my knockouts division. And then when they ask her about what she means, and she's like, well, she has the same resume you do. She's a knockouts world champion. She's a knockouts tag team champion. She goes, yeah, but she hasn't proven herself in my division now. This is something that happened. Like, it expired already. She needs to show off now. She's like, whenever we see her, she's here for a little bit and then she leaves. So we never really get to see the whole Taylor Wilde. And I like how she pointed things like that out of Taylor. And it's just like, kind of like, well, Taylor hasn't been the Taylor that we thought it was going to be when she returned. But like I said, I think the match more than anything was a great character development for Masha, showing her like such a badass, and the way she did the reversal. She did so many reversals in the first couple of minutes. I couldn't keep up with her, and she was doing so well doing that. But it's just like, I was hoping Masha would win out of anybody, like, because I didn't think Taylor needed that win. But it is what it is. I can't change that part. As Barry says, I think Masha's going on a losing streak, get bitter and angry, and then Dina guides her. That'll be a good one. I feel like I want her to be more like on the show more often. This is something we don't get really from Masha so far. It's like she did the matches with Jordan, and then she was off TV, and now she's back, and then she just got added into the title, to the match itself. So I wanted more. I'm hoping more from her even after this match is done. Did you have any more thoughts on that end before we move on to Sammy?
No, this was pretty good. Moving on to the Sammy promo. I really liked this Sammy promo. I like how it addressed the things that we thought were a little awkward with him trying to join by the design. I like how it's like, I tried to help you. I tried to do this. I tried to do that. You don't want me. I still get beat up. Well, guess what? I'm going to just keep coming for you. I'm like, all right, cool. It makes us know that Sammy's not an idiot, because he kind of looked like an idiot last week. Yeah. And so it was nice. Sammy cuts a great promo. What is there to say about Deathmatch Sammy cutting a promo? It was good. It does what it needs to do. It sells you on the match that you're going to have, whether it be this week, whether it be 3 months from now.
Yep.
He's the king of selling you a match that's not coming up right this minute
Yep.
to make you want to see it. Because I don't think to buy him versus Gina is on the card at Hard to Kill.
Not so far, yeah. From what I've seen, I thought it was something that they would announce, but they haven't announced it yet. But like I said, we have one more impact before that happens, so maybe it gets added last minute. Who really knows? Because we had, I think, Trey and Black Taurus got added like randomly, like on a graphic, and then we had Joe Henry and Moose got added at the year end award show, like just like that. So I mean, anything can happen at this point. I feel like they have a good card. If they have time for it, might as well do it. Or is it something that they want to build up more towards before it happens? They have time to do that too. So I think it's definitely just to see what their agenda is like at the moment. And I really like that too. I like the promo from him and the style of the promo too. It wasn't just him backstage, just like him holding the camera and the way it was looking and so focused on him and what he was saying. Um, and I love that part of like the end where he goes, the death machines wants the design, but the design wants the death machine. So I like that part of that when he mentioned that with the group too.
Yeah, it's definitely intriguing. I wouldn't be surprised to see him have to go on a match by match thing, and we get him versus Angels first, and then when he beats Angels, it's him versus Khan, and when he beats Connor, it's him. Then he finally gets to Diener, or maybe there's somebody in between. But I feel like that's what we're getting ready for, and I'm down for it. I just want somebody to come help Sammy, but it's
Hmm.
tough because to help Sammy, you need to find him either common enemies
Yeah.
or friends. His friends are sort of problematic, so your more likely option is finding common enemies. The problem is, this version of the design has no enemies yet.
Hmm. Yeah, that's the same route I was thinking too. Of like if that like does Sammy really have friends in Impact that he can bring on to do this? And I kept thinking the only way I would have seen somebody come in is if the design had done something to somebody else and they were seeking revenge on the design, and we haven't had that yet on this version, like you said. So I feel like right now I don't have options as to who can back him up, if anything. So I
I
think
mean,
it's also interesting.
if you're
Yeah.
looking for backup, like I said, they're somewhat problematic. But if you're willing to take that on, like Impact has done in the past, OVE isn't necessarily the worst people to bring back. I know one of the Chris brothers isn't really welcome in that locker room, but if it's a short storyline, you could bring back Dave and Jay Chris for backup for Sammy,
Hmm.
as long as they're not long term. Because
Hmm.
while one of them has no issues and would be a delight to work with in the backstage area, one of them is a problem. And unfortunately, things like that matter. But then again, you have people like Moose in this locker room, and you had Tessa Blanchard there for the longest time. It's it's a risk versus reward. I think it's lower risk to bring in OVE to back him up than it would be to bring Tessa back or to
Yeah.
put certain people on a higher pedestal. I think you can get away with bringing back OVE, but you've got to be careful, and you've got to weigh that because you don't have a lot of fans to begin with. To alienate any of them would be a bad idea.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, this is just one of those that we're gonna have to wait and see how it develops later on. I feel like another route that it could be like him, the way he insists of joining them, like maybe he wants to kind of destroy them from inside out, kind of thing. And that's what it seems like to me so far, unless they change the plans on it. But I think it's either way. Like the promo itself was really interesting, the way he played it out. After this, we had the promo from Rich Swan, and he's recapping what happened with him and Steve Macklin, and as he is doing this, he's also saying like it's like you if you want to go towards the world title picture, you don't do it by winning by count out. You have to definitely win the match to do so. So he that was his quote unquote like advice to Steve. So he offers a match for Hard to Kill, which is a false count anywhere match. He's like, well, if you wanted to like do this, and let's do a false count anywhere for the pay per view. So I think that one it's already towards the end of the show, so we got that added to Hard to Kill now. Did you have any thoughts on that promo?
No, I mean it's nice to see. We were all kind of really upset the way that kind of worked out last week or 2 weeks ago, the last time you were on the air. So it's nice to see Macklin getting this rub. It does mean that he's unlikely to be involved in the actual match for the main event, but I still think he inserts himself in some way, shape, or form in Full Metal Mayhem. But yeah, the promo did enough. Rich Swann can sell you on anything in a promo, so
Yeah. Yeah. Next up after this, we had Anthony Greene versus Black Taurus. I feel like this match. I don't want to say it was short, but definitely was not that long. To be honest, and to me, there wasn't anything that really stood out aside from there was a moment that Anthony did some kind of like top rope kind of walk, and then he just like twisted up in the air and just went and landed on Black Taurus. I think it looked like the visual. It was pretty well done. And just like when you're thinking like Anthony's like picking up the speed and like you think he's winning the match and everything's going well, and all of a sudden we have Black Taurus with a pop up Samoan a drop, and the way he just focused on him and he just wins like, oh, okay, I thought it would be a little bit longer than what it was, but I feel like definitely it was a good way to showcase Anthony as somebody that could be part of the X division the way it happened here with Black Taurus. I feel like it was a good introduction towards him, even with him losing. And then at the end, when he's making his way backstage or going up the ramp, then we have Trey hitting Anthony from behind with the title. And as Anthony's laying out, then we have Trey tagging him and just raising the title to show off to Black Taurus because they're facing each other now, or it's hard to kill. Did you have any thoughts on this match?
yeah, I love Anthony Green. I've seen a bunch of him over the years in the local independent scene. He was a fixture at places like Beyond and Chaotic for a long time. I've seen him at a lot of Ring of Honor local shows when they bring on local talent to help with TV matches and things like that. Um, he's got a great gimmick. At least he did before he went to NXT when they named him August Gray was his name in
Yeah.
NXT. I did love Tom Hannafin saying, "In a former life, I knew this guy."
Yeah.
That was it was a great little nod to the both of them being
Hmm.
in NXT together. It was a great match. Black Taurus is an absolute beast.
Hmm. Yes.
Having Crazy Steve as his voice box is so good because Crazy Steve is
Hmm.
such an amazing. He's still different. Like he's not the same
Yeah.
Crazy Steve that I remember from when I watched Impact before, when we're
Yeah.
talking about him and Rosemary and everything going on there.
Hmm.
And he's still different from when he was working with like the Carnival Sideshow, when you
Yeah.
had Big Rob Terry and all of them. Like there are so many iterations of this character, and they're all compelling and they're all able to catch you. And no, he's not the most accomplished pro wrestler in Impact, but
Hmm.
he's been there for a long time, and he's had a couple chances to leave, and people haven't given
Yeah.
him the time that they should. And his partial blindness is, I'm sure, a big worry for a lot of companies. But this guy kills it whenever he goes out there and does what he needs to
Hmm.
do. And he's the perfect mouthpiece for a beast like Black Taurus. And Black Taurus versus Trey Miguel is going to be fantastic. I know Cody's going to be cheering for his favorite wrestler, Trey Miguel.
Oh yeah, he's ultimate favorite. Um, After this, we had Kenny King. Just I don't know where. At first, it says he's in Quebec, but you're wondering why. As I was wondering when he was watching it, and then it just he went to Speedball's dojo, and he's like, "Well, where's Speedball?" He starts pretending to be looking for him, and as he takes all his students one by one, takes them all down, and he's just like looking for Speedball, and he just rips one of the posters they have on the wall that says Speedball's key to victory, which I thought was interesting the way he just attacked everybody. And right after that, we get a Speedball interview with Gia. And then she asked him about his thoughts about what just happened. And the way he was so like angry, and you could tell in his voice too. But he's like, well, after what you did to my dojo, my students, the only thing I can do is challenge you to a pit fight. It will be no ropes and I think no countouts and things like that. So it's like if you want to put it, let's put it this way to see which one of us comes out on top. Did you have any thoughts on both of these segments together, Ed?
Sorry, I'm muted. I apologize.
No. Okay.
Bailey did make me laugh. How he what? No, he's not terrible on the mic. He feels like he's 10 years old on the microphone
Yeah,
sometimes.
he's not angry, but his voice itself, it didn't sound like a guy, like a man. I don't know if that makes sense. Like
He's Canadian. We
it sounds
work
so
with
light.
we work with Canadians. We've worked with the French Canadians from the Montreal area. I mean, we know that when they get angry, they don't always have that upper register that you want, that growl. They don't. We can't all have Roman Reigns growl when we get angry. We can't all be as cut as Julius Creed when we get angry. But no, Mike Bailey cuts a decent promo. He's a good promo. He's never going to sell an arena on a main event match, but he can go with anybody. And him, you don't need Mike Bailey to be on the mic when you have Kenny King. That's the thing. You need Mike Bailey to cut the most basic promo, just like you do when you have The Miz. When you have The Miz doesn't need to be in there with a promo expert. He gets better when you have him in there with an expert on the mic. The Miz can go with anybody, and he can sell the match. Kenny King is going to be the promo that sells this match. Mike Bailey is going to be the guy who gets with Kenny King and makes this match 4.5 stars. Because that's what this match is going to be. It's going to be 3.5, 4.5 star match. Because these guys are some of the most talented high flyers and technical wrestlers in the world. And they're going to have an incredible match. I didn't realize it was Kenny King for a second there. And then I heard him talking. I'm like, oh, okay, Kenny. I'm like, why? Last we saw him, he was in Mexico. I was surprised to see him in Canada. When I saw it was Canada, that's why I got confused. Like, why would he be in Montreal? No, this was fun. I enjoyed this. It's the type of thing that you would expect to see on, believe it or not, WWE. This is the WWE style of Impact that I kind of like from Scott D'Amore. Every now and then he does something WWE, where you do this silly thing, where you have Mike Bailey come storming out of a room like he's just seen something that he would have heard about 3 days ago when they filmed this stupid scene. Because you know Mike Bailey didn't do it live in Canada. But no, this is fun. This is great. This match is going to be great. I can't wait for this match. The fact that it's going to be like a fight makes it better because you can let Kenny King lose and not have Kenny King lose anything.
Yeah, I feel like it will also look different for all the other matches, and just it'll make it stand out with both of them having some kind of pit fight match. I don't think I have the graphic for that one yet to have the official name they gave it.
I don't think the official graphic is out there. I'll take a look right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, I didn't see it towards the end of the show. Maybe later on they will announce it, like officially what they will name it. I don't know if it will be like exactly a pit fight, but it'll be something similar to that, I guess. um, After this, we had Gresham versus somebody because for some reason, I don't know. I think you probably had the same things you were watching it on YouTube like I was, but they just showed Gresham and the guy just in the ring. So Gresham didn't get an entrance. The guy didn't get a nameplate or anything like that. I tried to catch his name and I thought they said Ernest, but I wasn't sure. I kept hearing different things, so I wasn't entirely sure. And I kept looking at their website to see if they had the results already, and I had nothing. So I have no idea who this guy is. But I thought his more than anything, his facial expressions were really something that I was focusing on during this match because we had Gresham going after him, and the way he just sells everything with his facial expression was exactly um, how it worked for the match itself. Because we had different parts of like there was a part that Gresham goes for a high knee, and then he just covers his eyes and doesn't move, and like Gresham's like laughing because of what he did, and there was also a part of like we have Gresham like twist his ankle and he's trying to do a reverse, and as he's doing it he lands on his feet, but he's also selling the knee and the ankle at the same time. So I thought he did really well when it came to that development within the match itself. Towards the end we just have Gresham going for a submission, and as he has a submission locked in, he focuses on the ankle and just twisted it. But I like how he looks at the crowd as he's doing it, and he's like having he's just having fun while he's doing it. He's smiling while it's happening too. So I thought that was super interesting of Gresham to do. I was not expecting him to be a part of the show tonight itself. It's like, how do you have Gresham and not have like a regular entrance with him? And it just started the way it did with the guy too. But I like that the guy that wrestled against Gresham had a lot of with his, with the selling. He did really well with that part of it. What did you think about it, Ed?
Yeah, I agree. If it were me, I wouldn't have had Jonathan Gresham before Hard to Kill. I
Yeah.
think it would have had more effect just having him come out and fight Eddie Edwards. That being said, I don't have any drinks and you can't see me anyway. So,
Dang it.
that being said, yeah, I think it'll be fun. It'll be great. It was a nice showcase to remind us who Jonathan Gresham is and what he does. It was a bit unnecessary, but you've got TV time to fill, and
Yeah.
half your roster apparently was told to just not show up tonight. So, I mean, Mickey wasn't there. Jordan wasn't on the show. You told Josh and Bully both to not show up anyways. Tommy Dreamer's apparently lying in a hospital bed. It's really funny. He can do, his
Busted
radio
open.
show, busted open from a hospital bed. I mean,
Yeah.
I would love to see the rigging of that one. But no, I mean, it's fine. It is what it is. Like, this is what happens when you tape 6 weeks of shows at a time. You get caught where you have to do something to fill some time. This was fine. I just think it was unnecessary use of Jonathan Gresham. But I'm not going to complain about seeing the octopus in the ring. So you take the good with the bad. To go back to the Mike Bailey thing, it is a fight pit. There are no ropes, tape up, knockout, and submissions only. Barry also did not catch the name.
I tried, but I couldn't catch it. I was waiting for the, like, usually I'm used to NXT having at least a nameplate, and then them kind of posing. AEW does that too, so I was hoping for that. But I heard like something Ernest Arn or Ernest Anthony, something like that, all those words. But again, there was no nameplate, so sorry. But um, after this, we had Tasha and Savannah that were just backstage, like arguing about losing the recent matches. And I like the way that Savannah just like looks at Tasha like kind of like I didn't lose them, but it was kind of funny like having that back and forth between them. And then all of a sudden there's music coming and we see JP now with Giselle Shaw coming in. And she's like, "Well, I can help you guys go against the Death Obbies because if you think about it, you guys are down one person, but if Jay and I join, then you're up one person." But I like how more than anything, Tasha and Savannah are pointing out to her, is like, "Well, have you noticed that every time you join a team, the team breaks up? It's like it's not the first time you do this." And then Giselle said, "Well, but if you think about it, they weren't like not having problems, and then I just like kind of help them in that way. But you guys are having problems, and I want to help you guys solve the problems. So if you want to kind of like be equals, then I can join you guys." And then Savannah kind of got convinced in the end, so she was kind of making a team with all four of them. Versus Sasha was kind of hesitant at first, but she got pulled in when they were just like talking to each other about their plan of coming. So we'll see if that gets added to Hard to Kill. I don't think so, but we'll see. Did you have any thoughts about that one?
This is stupid. Um, if you're you're Tasha Steelz, you know that this woman breaks up tag teams. You've literally stated the fact to her.
Yeah.
She knows she breaks up tag teams. Her convincing point is, yeah, I may break up tag teams, but those tag teams were all fully functional before I got here. You guys are having problems. So what, Giselle Shaw is now a tag team helper? No, she still breaks up tag teams. This is stupid. I can see why Savannah would want to hitch her anchor to somebody else. I see no reason why Tasha Steelz should ever in a million years have thought this was a good idea.
It kind of frustrated me on Tasha's end because how do you go from Tasha being Knockouts champion, and then I feel like it's been downhill from there for her because she's been with the Death Dolls and with Savannah. She lost all those matches, and now just like here we have really nothing else for you, so we're gonna have Giselle to even the odds between all of you guys. And just I feel like you do better with Tasha than what's happening right now, and I feel like she's been more like in the background ever since she lost, and I wish she wasn't because I know she did very well as champion. So I want her to have a spotlight even if she isn't champion, and I feel like this is it for not for me. I definitely don't like this so far.
I mean, you know what would be a great spot for Tasha Steelz? You know, if you're having a fatal four-way match and you were like, who are the best 4 women on my roster who, aren't in tag team feuds and aren't tag team champions and, might contend for the world championship. We got Deonna Purrazzo. Yeah, we'll put her in. We got Killer Kelly. She's great. She's taking some time off to, help herself and do everything, and that's important. Self-help and your mental state are very important. So when you need time to take a break, you take a break. Good for her by doing that. Good for Impact by not punishing her for doing that. As soon as she says she's ready to go, boom, all of a sudden she's in a triple threat match for the champion. She's back into a fatal 4-way for a chance at the championship. Masha Slamovich is coming back. Cool. We'll throw her in there. Oh, we got 1 spot left. Let's look down our roster. Yeah, Gisele Shaw, no, we don't want to put her in there. Chelsea Green, no, she's going to WWE. Let's see, what we got? The Death Dolls, nope, they're tag team champions. We don't want to do that. Savannah, no, a little too green. What about Tasha Steelz? No, we don't need Tasha Steelz. All right, well, who else we got left? I think there's a Taylor Wilde sitting on the shelf over there. We can put her in there. Sure, we'll do that. You know who she reminds me of? Aaliyah. Taylor Wilde reminds me of Aaliyah. She, like, NXT used to sit Aaliyah on the shelf, and when they needed somebody as a body or somebody in a group, they'd pull Aaliyah off the shelf and put her in there for a few weeks, and then she'd disappear, and they'd put her back on the shelf.
Yeah, she was just a number.
Tasha Steelz shouldn't be just a number or anything like that. She should be in that match. Even if she doesn't win, at least then she's competing against 3 of the other best knockouts in the company, and it feels like an important spot. As opposed to a 6-woman tag or, going for the tag team title, which is nice, but what do they do if they win? There's no direction.
Yeah, that's how I felt with her too. Like, if they lose, then what happens with her and Savannah? And if they win, then was it go back and forth again with the Death Doll? Because they have nobody else really as a tag team at the moment. So just like I feel like they're in a tough spot right now when it comes to like their knockouts division. But like I said, it's like I'm hoping they keep adding more people to it, and then hopefully that'll help sooner or later. That's my only hope right now. And then after this, we had the promo from the design responding to Sammy. They said, well, the design started with cleansing in the blood of its designer. But they said, if you want to join us, your identity has to be stripped away. And it's going to be a long and difficult process. Long and a violent process, to be exact. But we had Diener say, next week, we're going to cut every hair of your head. But if this is a trap, then you walk into a den of vipers. But you have to wait for the design to choose you. So I thought this was, I like the response. And just like in Sammy, I like also the visual of it, because we had like Khan and Angels in the background kind of walking back and forth as Diener is talking. And he feels like it's a trap being set by Sammy. So he's kind of like ready at the same time and telling him what's going to happen. But at the same time, I feel like in the back of the mind of the group, they also have that in mind of like, in case, is this a trap from Sammy? But I like the way that he responded to them. Did you have any thoughts about this one?
Yeah, I really liked this promo again. It was fun. It was interesting. The design are intriguing to me as a newcomer to the current product. Not having seen it week in and week out. Diener is such an engaging presence on the screen. It's so funny to think about the hillbilly that I watched when they were doing the pandemic Wrestle House stuff. I don't know if you've seen the Wrestle House stuff. That crazy shenanigans that was.
Yeah.
It's so different to see him in this different type of role, but he's killing it, and I don't know when this match is going to happen, but I'm excited for the match to happen. So yeah, it'll be fun. I'm very intrigued.
Yeah. After this, we had a promo package for Josh, who, like as Ed was saying earlier, we had Scott D'Amore saying he didn't want Bully or Scott to be there tonight. But we had a promo package for him highlighting him as the longest reigning world champion now. He now being, as of yesterday, he definitely beat, I don't know if it was AJ and Bobby as well. So even in the promo package, I love how they said, he was an X Division champion. He's a 2-time tag team champion, 2-time world champion. And even now, being the longest reigning Impact World Champion, he beat the people like Sting and AJ Styles before, so he's definitely number one right now. So I think it was definitely like interesting seeing him highlighted in this type of way. I feel like I would have loved if he was there to like kind of like celebrate this in a way, because we wanted him as world champion and we were hoping he'll be world champion by now to be the longest reigning, and then we just get a promo package from him, which I loved. Don't get me wrong, but I wish it would have been something more like celebrated with him in person. And they also mentioned he's a ninth Triple Crown person here in Impact. But I felt like it's such a great way to highlight him and his career so far. And just I like how they show off because they just make it look, and they give you that presentation that they're proud of him from that accomplishment, which I really loved. But yeah, I would have done with like him doing it in person instead, maybe with Jade and with Jet there too. I think it would have been like a nice touch to have them all together there after everything he had to go through to be world champion. What did you think about it?
It was nice. Josh is a hell of a guy. He's a hell of a star. I can't get out of my head that this is the end of this reign. It's such a nice video package, but it's not the video package you make for the guy in the middle of his reign. It's the video package you make right before you take the title off the dude. Especially with what came later on. It was good though. Josh is a fantastic champion. He's a fantastic representation of your company. Any company would be happy to have somebody like Josh Alexander representing them. So it was fine, but it felt weird to have this a week or so before this. Again, this feels like something that you do at the pay-per-view, or like, I don't know. I guess the milestone is the reason to do it, but it's just weird.
Yeah.
It felt out of place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're making me think about it. Now I can't stop thinking about it. I don't want it to be the end. um, but I think this was, if Cody was here, this is definitely going to be his favorite part of tonight. First, we started with a promo from Moose. He starts talking about John Henry, how he has everything handed to him, and that's why he's always smiling and singing. He's like, if it was easy for me, I would be singing and smiling too, just like he is. And then he said, well, if anything, if I want him to show up, all I have to do is say his name. And just as he says that, the theme song comes up. And I like the editing in this part because just as they take out the camera from the video entrance, he turns around and Joe Henry's right there by the entrance ramp with his microphone in hand. I love how he's like, well, Moose, we gotta, get you loose a little bit here. And it's like, I do have something for you. I have a new theme song for you, and it's Joe Henry's theme song, but his lyrics got changed to fit Moose's. It's just like, oh, he got rejected from football, and I love his dancing, and it goes back to what Ed was showing us when we first started Impact about Joe Henry changing the music depending on who he's facing. So I like seeing this in Impact happening as well. And then just like Moose going over and just telling us like, it's okay, when Hard to Kill happens, I'm gonna put my size 13 boot up your ass either way, and there'll be nothing about Joe Henry left. And then he just says, well, I'm done talking, put my music on. And the production just puts the music on, which is exactly the song that Joe Henry had for him. So people are just chanting Moose loose to him as he's going up and leaving the arena. I just definitely thought it was just a funny way of doing this. And like I said, I love how they applied it to Impact now with Joe Henry doing the theme song like this and applying it to Moose too. I think definitely was a good way to make me laugh in this episode. And that you like it too, or no?
I believe in Joe Hendry. I've always believed in Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry, the local hero. Joe Hendry, the part of a stable that included Travis Banks and BT Gunn and Joe Coffey in WCPW and Defiant Wrestling. The guy who has had moment upon moment. If you just look up Joe Hendry entrance videos, and you just see all of these wonderful videos that he has of entrances with people like Drew McIntyre and Will Ospreay and just so many fantastic people where he finds something about them and teases them. And that's what Asher was talking about. I sent a bunch of these when I heard them first talking about Joe Hendry having come back. Because he's one of my favorite independent wrestlers in the world. I think the sky's the limit for him. There's nothing he can't do. He's a little undersized for a world champion, but that's the only thing that you really can knock him for. He will work as hard as he needs to be a star. He is built like a star. He wrestles like a star. He's a bit of a comedy, but he can be serious at the same time. Because there was almost no comedy in his heel persona when he led the Prestige. There's so much to like about Joe Hendry. There's so much to believe about in Joe Hendry. Dancing Moose is probably at the bottom of my list of funny things that Joe Hendry's done, but it's not bad. Barry Monkey says it's the most enjoyable segment of the night. Just a pity he can't use real songs. If you go find his ICW stuff, they have playlists of it. They use Eiffel 65. They use the Venga Boys. They use Oasis, Madonna, like everything, because he picks up something on somebody's. The Jack Jester one is my absolute favorite. The Venga Boys and Jack Jester. Oh my God, it makes me laugh every time. I could do an entire hour show on Joe Hendry. We're gonna keep the show moving and talk about what comes next. I just wish it wasn't against Moose, because Moose is such a despicable person in real life that the total scumbag that he is in the ring that he claims to be is so true, but at the same time I can't support it. So it's so tough because like, he lives the total scumbag life. He is a total scumbag in the ring and out of the ring because of the people he associates with. That being said, it makes it tough because he's a really good heel and he has everything he needs. And if certain people were in charge of certain wrestling companies, I think he'd still be on their radars as a potential world champion. Honestly, as in an in-ring perspective, I think he's a better Bobby Lashley. I'll be honest. I think if you're taking everything else out and you're just talking about the wrestler that's in the ring, he's a better Bobby Lashley. He's more interesting on the microphone than Bobby Lashley. He's more talented in the ring, I think, than Bobby Lashley. And he's a little bit smaller in certain aspects than Bobby Lashley, which makes him stand out more. But he's still a massive dude because he's bigger than Bobby Lashley in height. But he's not as jacked because Bobby is just this absolute specimen of a man. And, I think, honestly, I would say Moose is a better Bobby Lashley. He does just enough things to make Bobby like... The Hurt Business with Moose as opposed to Bobby Lashley is just that much better. It's just that much better. Like Shelton and Cedric and MVP being the Paul Heyman as opposed to having to be the Mike Man. Because the one thing that the Hurt Business lacked was that your main guy wasn't great on the mic. So you had to have MVP do it. The thing that makes the Bloodline work is that the only guy who doesn't talk is Solo Sikoa, because he's the killer of the group, so to speak. He's the enforcer. He's the badass of the group. You don't want him to talk. It's the reason why Paul Heyman always talked for Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar can, and as we found out, can be fantastic on the microphone. But you don't need Brock Lesnar to talk when Brock Lesnar's a heel. You just want Brock Lesnar to walk to the ring and beat people up. And I think Moose is just that much better than Bobby in a couple of ways that make it better. Moose. I agree. No, this is a good point. Moose fights matches in slow motion to an extent. But my question would be, when you get him against top tier talent, and that's the one thing that I have to say about Impact, and it's not necessarily a huge negative, but how you don't get to work against the top tier talent when you work in Impact. When he wrestled guys like Galloway, he didn't wrestle in slow motion. Yes, he's slower than the rest, but everything feels good when he does it. Like, it feels crisp. It looks real. Bobby, while wrestling at a full speed, sometimes looks a bit out of control. And like I said, I think the major knock on Bobby Lashley is the mic skills. While he's a better in-ring wrestler than Moose, the in-ring skills knock him down a peg, and I think that Moose picks up so much from that ability to be, as he said, a total scumbag. Like this Moose promo without the Joe Hendry stuff is still a top tier promo because Moose is so good on the mic, but he's a total scumbag.
No. And I also wanted to go back to your part with Joe Henry too. I feel like one of the things that I enjoy the most about him is that he's so charismatic, and I feel like a lot of people don't have that. Like, how do you have that? If you think about it this way, he debuted not too long ago, and in that little time he's been there, you see the people already saying the say his name, or I believe in Joe Henry, or clapping over for his theme song, or waving their hands in the air, or just like he is. Just like when they see him doing it, they do it too, and like you see people clapping as the theme song happens when he wins or he comes out. So I feel like it's something that he takes that charisma and he applies it all around his character, to the point that you notice how people get like so used to him so fast. And I love seeing that because I feel like it's rare for you to have somebody that just in a couple of weeks like wins over the crowd in such a way. And if you think about it this way, we had tapings in different cities so far, and even then every city still does the same thing. They do the clapping, they do the waving, everything that he does they do, and they enjoy what he's doing. If you notice, like after the song happened, they played it twice, and the crowd was going moose loose, and they kept chanting it even as the song was over because it was catchy, and like it's something they could chant afterwards too. So it's like those little things that I like about Joe Henry that a lot of people don't do, that you get to win the crowd over and you include them as part of your character, and he's done that very well in the little time he's been there. So I'm telling you, I'm going to Impact not this month, so I cannot wait to clap along if he comes out during those tapings. I'm just saying, if you see me there, don't judge me. um after this.
I've taken it upon myself. I put a link in chat. This is the one I was talking about with Jack Jester.
Okay, yeah. After that, we had a spotlight on Mickey's career. I gotta say, I was texting Ella when this was happening, and I really loved it. And I told her, "It's like I don't know if I should smile or cry," because I love how it's just seeing that her from her aspect and her point of view, telling us how her career has changed. She said, when Raven asked her to join first as Alexis, and she was part of the gathering, she's like, "Well, I was partnered with people like Punk and Julio, and I was learning from them." It's like she's like, "I was in a spot that there wasn't really a lot of women being spotlighted the way she was back in TNA when it first started." And then she said when she was talking, she was like, "Oh, I was working with Jeff Jarrett at the time." And I told him, "Oh, I got a call, and I got a call from WWE." And he said, "Just go, but the doors are always open here with you at Impact." And she said that is something that has been true still to this day in Impact when through her journey. And she talked about how she started in WWE and getting teamed up with Trish. She's like, "We meshed so well together. Like, it's such a friendship that we still have to this day, even after the storyline's over." And then she went back and talking about Impact and how for her it was better coming to Impact the second time around because they were focusing a lot on the women. And that she's like, this is the time that women were getting respected in women's wrestling, and Impact was one of the people that was really doing this. So I like her spotlighting that as well, because I feel like I said before, and I said it this on past episodes, and I said on Ladies Wrestling Showcase, I feel like Impact doesn't get enough credit for being part of the women's revolution the way it should have, and I feel like they were the ones giving opportunities to women that a lot of other companies didn't do, or they took a while to do as well. So I love seeing that. I love how towards this part is where she talks about meeting Nick. She's like, "Well, there was this handsome man," and she's like, I was sitting in the ring talking to Al Snow and Lisa Marie, who was Tara and Victoria." And just the way she's like, "You can ask Lisa if you want about the story. She'll tell you the same thing." Like I was watching him, and I said, "Well, I'm looking in me liking it," and she was hoping he didn't hear her, but he did. And she's like, one day he talked to me, and that she's like, that accent just blew my mind. Um, but she thought about it this way because when she went to Impact the second time, because she was released, and she said, "Well, even though I had lost the dream of being in WWE, I also gained something because I got Nick, and if I hadn't lost the dream, that I would have met Nick in Impact." And she's like, "I wouldn't have Donovan either." And then she talks about when she got the call again from WWE to wrestle Asuka, and how she's coming now to Impact, thinking like this is the way to end her career at Impact of all places, with the way they treated her. And she's also talking about her family, how so her family worked so hard for her to be where she is, and she also wanted to pay them back for what she did. And yeah, and I don't blame her. I would too with that accent. But I was telling Ella, I was like, I didn't know whether to smile or cry. because I feel like it was such a good package. So if you haven't seen it, I think they probably have it. I know I saw it on Twitter already, the video package from her career. I just love, listening to her talk about everything she's been through so far, and that was just to like a little bit piece of it. um I was only disappointed that we didn't get anything else aside from that to really sell us on the Jordan Mickey match, but I love the package either way. I definitely like tear me up. I was like, I didn't realize how much I love Mickey James until I started watching Impact again now, and all this everything she's had going on recently. But I'm very excited for the match, career versus title happening at Hard to Kill. Did you have any thoughts on the video package?
Yeah, Mickey James is a star, and Mickey James has done so much to impact women's wrestling. Um, ba-dum-ba. But yeah, this was a fantastic video package. A little long for my taste, only because I was rushing through the show.
Okay.
She's fantastic. This would have been great if it had been given. This would have been great as a BTI thing, or like what NXT does, where they do that like 15-minute segment where they go ahead and they do like a prime target during NXT, or as an after show or something on the when it's on the network. On the network, they would do prime target, and they'd give you 15-20 minutes about a specific match and give you a nice video package for it. This is where you would put that. To have this entire thing in its entirety on Impact was a bit lengthy for me. That being said, it was fantastic, and it's selling you on the career aspect of this match. I don't think there's any way she loses this match coming up. It's fine. There's no bad outcome to this. If Jordynne Grace is the one to retire her, good, because Jordynne Grace can use that and elevate herself even higher. Even though she doesn't need it, it's a nice little thing for her to have. If Mickey wins, great, because you can tell the story you still can pick up with Tasha Steelz. You have this 4-way that's coming up, and a majority of these people are people that you can easily put with Mickey James and have a great match, with the exception of Taylor Wilde. But it's fine, because she won't win the match anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it was a great promo, but there's always a problem with putting anything this long as a video package into a show, because you can kind of not derail the show, but you slow the show down. And then to come out of it, and if I remember correctly, we come out of this right into what is considered the main event match of the night, which is Sabin versus Cardona, right?
Yep.
It's a weird transition from one to the other. I think they have the Dawn West package after this too, in between those two things. But still, it's just, you knew you were going to have the Dawn West package. I kind of would have put the Mickey package next week.
No, I don't know if it was me, but the way they put it on too, they put the Mickey career package and then the Don West right after that, so it looked kind of awkward, because I felt, I was like, wait, why are they talking about Don West all of a sudden? I don't know if it was me and I missed something, I blinked and I missed the graphic for him. So I feel like it was awkward having them one after the other, because you're going from like her career to just like, we're sorry about Don West. And I'm like, wait, what happened? I don't understand why they put one after the other. They could have done a little something in between there. Maybe some kind of interview or a backstage segment, something to like divide them in a sense. And I put them one after the other, because it looked very awkward on the live show when I was watching it. But yeah, I'm glad I still did something from Don West. I feel like maybe the Don West part, I maybe would have put it towards the beginning, since we probably had the graphic with at the beginning of the show anyway. So I figured like something like this would have matched up better if you put the graphic and then the video for him, and then you talk, you begin your show, but not having the graphic at the beginning and then having this tribute towards the end of the show. And like, it makes it even more long, because I think the Mickey's video package was like 7 minutes or so, plus the Don West one. It makes it too long, one after the other one. So it made it like slow down really, like that pacing of the show they had.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not opposed to doing either of these video packages. The Don West one absolutely needs to get done, and you absolutely need to do it. Where you put it in the show is really up to you. I don't mind the Don West package being in the spot it was at. It did come off awkward. For us, it comes off awkward because we go from one to the other. They probably went to a commercial break and came back to the Don West stuff. So for the audience who's watching it on television the way it's intended to be watched, it doesn't feel as choppy. So it's go from one to the other because you have the commercial break in between. But when you know that you're producing for YouTube as well, it can be a bit problematic to have it like that. I liked both video packages. The Don West video package is so great because you have all this old TNA. You have people from the Asylum days. You have Tracy, and you have Gail, and you have Frankie, and you have, I believe, Jerry Lynn was in there. You have a bunch of these people that are old school TNA guys and gals that remember having their matches called from Don West. You have a guy like Josh Alexander who met Don West and didn't have a match called by him, but he talked about being a fan of Don West because Don West lit up that fan inside of him, and I can really feel the Josh Alexander part of it because I grew up watching. I didn't grow up watching. I watched my entire TNA run through the eyes of Don West. He's just absolutely fantastic, and he's great. The two video packages back-to-back-ish were probably a mistake, but neither video package was done poorly or in bad taste. None of the packages were bad. It's just tough to have such a long video package like the Mickie James package and then go into the career retrospective.
Yeah, I feel like the timing of it, they could have done something to divide those two. After this, we had our main event for the night officially, which is Cardona versus Sabin. I really liked also, like, obviously being part of both tag teams. I like having their partners by their side. There was a part where Myers was kind of grabbing Sabin's ankle, and we had Shelly running after him until Sabin caught him. And we also had the part that I really loved was that having Shelly, like the way he does with his tag team matches with Sabin. He was holding on the top and middle rope for him to dive in onto the major players. So like little things like that. I love how even as a singles match we had the tag teams playing a part into this. But yeah, it just they had a good back and forth, but I feel like there was a lot more that we saw more from Shelly compared to Cardona. And we had Sabin's speed. It was which is incredible to think about. Like so many years later, he still goes at the speed as he did before. But yeah, just and then the ending, I like how he went from the dropkick to just coming in and just having that win at the end. It was something that I expected. It just like them being champions. I was not expecting Sabin to lose this match like this, especially going into Hard to Kill. I just wish we would have had the other two teams kind of involved in there somehow. I'm hoping there's something that happens next week to involve both of the teams. I know that Ace and Bay were in Japan around this time, so maybe I know that's a factor to it. But still, I feel like it was a good way to promote overall the four-way match that we had. I think that's the elimination match that we have for Hard to Kill. Did you enjoy the match?
Yeah, I mean it's hard not to enjoy a match with Chris Sabin versus Matt Cardona. I mean it's really like, oh, Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay had a great match. Oh, I'm so surprised. I'm shocked that was a potential match. Of course it was. Like, these are some of the most talented people in this company. They've been doing it for how many years? Like, Zack Ryder was one of the biggest missed opportunities the WWE's had in a long time that they didn't capitalize to the degree that they could have on that character. Chris Sabin has been the heart and soul with Alex Shelley of Impact for decades. Longer than some people have been alive, Chris Sabin has been the heart and soul of this Impact X division and the tag team division over there. Yeah, the fact that he's still doing the Cradle Shock as a finisher is absolutely just a testament to how great he is. There's nothing but greatness for this match. There's no missed spots. These guys don't have a bad match. These guys don't miss an opportunity to make sure that they sell what they need to sell and get where they need to get to. The tag team partners are just as talented as the two guys in the ring. They're both the other guy in their tag team. No offense. Like
Yeah.
The Rockers were a great tag team, but there was Shawn Michaels and there was Marty Jannetty. With the Motor City Machine Guns, there's Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley. There's Matt Cardona and Brian Myers. Like, there's a reason why you know which one of these guys is going to get top billing in each of their tag teams. But they are some of the most talented people in the world. I'm kind of glad we didn't get all of the extracurricular stuff with everybody else. I kind of like that. It's nice to not have Matt Taven Light on the show. It's nice. I enjoy not having to see him on the show. But that 4-way elimination match is going to absolutely be match of the night, behind maybe Full Metal Mayhem and maybe that women's match between Mickie James and Jordynne Grace, and maybe that fight pit match. Man, there's going to be a lot of match of the night contenders on this Impact Hard to Kill show.
Yeah, I kept looking at it. I was taking screenshots of like when the matches they had, but even thinking of the card itself, like just taking a moment before we discuss the last part. Um, we have Josh and Bully Ray for the world title, Full Metal Mayhem. We have Jordan and Mickey career versus title. Like that's another one.
Banger.
Josh and Eddie Edwards. Like holy
Banger.
crap.
It's not. Oh, Joshua Gresham. No, it's not. It's
Gresham and Eddie Edwards.
Yes, but Gresham's first name isn't Josh. What's his first name?
I mean Jonathan. What is it, Josh?
Yeah,
For that one.
Yeah, that's fine.
4-way elimination for the Impact Tag Team Championship. Motor City Machine Guns, major players, Heath and Rhino and Ace and Bay. We have Trey Miguel versus Black Taurus for the X Division title. And like we mentioned earlier, now one contenders match, Masha versus Diana versus Taylor versus Killer Kelly. And we also have Bailey and Kenny King, who I don't see in the website yet, and I don't see a graphic for it, but I know there'll be added like some kind of fight pit somehow. And then we have Rick Swan and Steve Macklin that they mentioned tonight. I don't see a graphic for that one yet either, I believe. And then we have Joe Henry and Moose Digital Media Championship. Oh, here I found the Steve Macklin and Rick Swan. It's a false count anywhere. So we have that one. So we're only missing one graphic so far. But yeah, just like thinking of the whole card, like I'm excited for this pay-per-view, and we still have a week left to go for the show itself. So it's incredible. I'm also thinking like I'm gonna be there for the tapings after Hard to Kill, so I'm gonna be excited to see how I'm like I don't know if I should cry if I see Bully Ray as champion when I go to the tapings, but either way I'm excited because it's the post shows to this pay-per-view, and I'm excited for it too. But then going over to what happened after the main event. We had Bully Ray come out. I thought it was funny though. He first started standing up at the commentary table, and we had Matt and Tom so close to each other. He's like telling Tom, "Don't look at me in the eye. Don't make eye contact with me." And Matt's kind of like protecting Tom in a way. And he just asked for a microphone. And they mentioned in commentary, as Scott D'Amore has said, he didn't want Bully Ray or Josh to be part of the show up until Hard to Kill, but Bully is here tonight. And then we had not too long after Scott D'Amore coming out, and he said, "Well, I had a phone call like not too long ago, and we had somebody like you telling me that you're a changed man, but look at what you've done. Look, we have Devon who will be seen with you in the same room unless he has a huge bag of money beside him. And you had Dreamer who's in the hospital because of what you did to him anyway. So it's like." At least like Josh has people behind him. It's like Josh has fans. He has people like support him. He's like he has fans too, and he has a family, like a family that loves him, that they're excited for him to get back home when he does. So he's like, what happens to you after this match happens? And like how Scott D'Amore also pointed out, he's like, I had a locker room full of people that are here to make things right within wrestling. And Bully's like, well, they're nobodies though. And I love how that he had Scott D'Amore get in Bully's face. Like they had a back and forth with the microphone, and we had him spit on Bully as well as Bully was in the corner. But obviously, being Bully Ray, it didn't last too long. He had Hodge and Skylar come in to hold Scott D'Amore as he kicked him, and he did the pile driver to him too, and he did a power bomb through the table. It's just that visual of ending the show with Bully Ray being in control over somebody that's got the more, who's been so behind and so supportive of Josh. And like I said in the last couple of weeks in our shows, like it's just as we've seen recently, he sees Josh like family because like, well, I met Jade before I met you, Josh, and he kind of it shows up like that father figure for Jade, and also like that person protecting Josh, not only as family but as his world champion too. So that seeing that visual of Bully Ray doing that to him, and obviously not having Josh there to really defend him, it ended the way it did, with Scott Demore going through the table. But I feel like it was really well done. I was not expecting something like this to happen. I kept thinking Cardona Sabin's the main event, but then I kept looking at the time and I felt like they had like 10 more minutes left. So I was thinking, what is this really going to happen tonight? Which is definitely not what I expected with this. But I feel like the segment itself would flow very well and it was really well done. Did you have any thoughts about it?
Yeah, I have lots of thoughts about this one. Kudos to both guys. They absolutely killed this promo. No surprise. I mean, Scott Demore is fantastic on the microphone, and people forget that, he led Team Canada. He was on the microphone for Team Canada. The dude's been an in-ring presence for years upon years. It's not something new to him. Yes, he's a backstage figure, but the on-air side isn't a surprise. The dude can cut a promo, and he cut a scathing promo tonight. And I love when competitors know when getting real-ish is important and it makes sense for the storyline. And letting him go all the way up until saying, yeah, he's got a family. He's got Jade. Velvet left you and you're going to go back to an empty hotel room. The only thing that they're missing out of that was Velvet left you. Like, they didn't say her name, but it's just hanging because everybody knows, because he talked glowingly about Velvet for years when he was on Busting Out. That's a different show.
Busting out on Sundays.
when Bully was on, on Busting Open, he busted open. He talks glowingly about, him and Vel and everything that went on. So, to know that they're not together anymore and to be like, yeah, you have nobody left. The closest person in your life won't be in the same room as you unless they hand him a bag of money. AKA when he got inducted into the Hall of Fame and went up to WWE. It's just so great to see Bully letting this stuff happen. The only thing that would have made this better is if this promo was coming from Josh. Because it's great and well that it's coming from Scott. But it makes Josh feel like a bit of an afterthought. Because this should be Josh getting angry. This should be Josh pissed off. This should be Josh all piss and vinegar. And instead, it's Bully Ray talking to the guy who runs Impact Wrestling on screen. Which makes me scared that they're thinking about doing Bully Ray becoming, even just for a very short term, Scott Demore's worst enemy. And having a world champion that he can't control and that he doesn't want and can't trust. And the fact that then Scott has to go out there and throw everything at Bully to get the title off of him. And is this where he gives in to a guy like Macklin? To go back to Barry's point, I'm sure Macklin and Swan will be a great match. It probably will. I'm not sure why I totally care. The reason why you're supposed to care is because of Steve Macklin. You're not supposed to care about the feud because I don't think there really is a feud. You're supposed to care because it's all about building this deep resentment inside Macklin. That I think he's going to be the savior for Scott Demore until he turns into a bigger problem than he solved. And I think that while it's not a great idea, heel versus heel, Macklin versus Bully Ray, I think can sell tickets. And I think that will be an amazing match. And I think that's how you build going forward. But that means that you have to take the title off Josh. And that's why that promo that Josh cut earlier feels like the kind of promo that you give to a guy leaving. Because I saw the main event before I saw the rest of the show, to be fair. I watched the rest of the show in bits and pieces throughout the rest of my evening, but I watched in its entirety as it happened, the main event segment, and I really enjoyed it. And I went into the show seeing it from the point of view of Bully's probably going to win this match. Now, Impact's good about making changes and swerving and making the story feel right. But there's a really good chance that Bully wins this match.
Mm-hmm.
And that Josh goes away from the title picture. And then and if you use Macklin the right way as the mercenary to take down Bully Ray, then it works, because then you give Macklin the power and the championship. And then Josh comes back. And you have that great tug of war between, where you can flip up the title between Josh and Macklin. And Steve and Josh can flip that title back and forth. There's a lot of good that can come of this. This was a killer promo. And it was a great way to end the show. I just wished it would have been Josh. But it's going to make for a hell of a segment next week. And if I'm Impact, that needs to be the opening segment next week of Josh Alexander coming out, piss and vinegar. I'm angry. I'm pissed off. Bully, get out here. Bully's not there. And he gets Hotch and he gets Skylar. And he absolutely wrecks them. Also, I still don't know why Hotch and Skylar are there, because we didn't explain that. But
No, nothing.
I'll let it go because it's setting up for good stuff. But this was great.
Yeah. No, I also go back to Barry's point of like the Macklin and Swan. I think you should care because it's just a way to build up Macklin. And even of him as a heel, if you have him be that person, like Ed was saying, kind of like that mercenary and helping Scott, he's gonna get the support of the people, because the people are gonna be behind Scott the more, and like not wanting Bully Ray as champion. So even as a heel versus heel, he's gonna be seen less like a heel compared to Bully Ray being present there, and Bully's gonna seem like the bigger presence in this match. But yeah, just a way to build him up and to give him that victory and make him look like a badass, and that's all we've seen so far from him. And even it goes back to also what he's been saying the last couple of weeks. He's like, I've been winning, I've been doing this and doing that, and nothing has worked. Like, what else do I have to do to get the attention from management? And I think, like you were saying, at like that point of like that Bully Ray situation could be the way of getting the attention from management. It's like, oh, hey, now you need me, and it's gonna be that different type of way. But just like what I like about this match is like it could go either way. We could still have Josh defeat Bully Ray, and just that's the end of the story, because we don't know how long Bully Ray is gonna be in Impact. But like you said, it could also be Bully Ray just winning the title and being exactly what he said he would do. Is like, do you know who I am? You're like, I'm Bully Ray, and you should have known better when you brought me over. And saying that to Scott D'Amore as he becomes champion too. So I feel like it could go either way, which is what I like about it. And it just makes it interesting storytelling from either standpoint. I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to it. And for next week, because I keep thinking that there's a week in between, but there isn't. For next week is when we will have our show on Friday instead, as we will talk about Impact for next week, and we're gonna do our Hard to Kill post show all in one show. So we're definitely excited about that. We're really looking forward to this pay-per-view, since it was announced that we were having Bully Ray and Josh for this one. So yeah, next week it'll be a Friday show instead of a Thursday show. So we'll probably be in a way like a double feature for everybody as we talk about Impact and Hard to Kill. Before we go to the plugs, I want to let you guys know when we end the show, I'm going to be rating Jessica Havoc because she's sick. Jessica, she's still alive, I believe. Yeah. But yeah, before we rate her, thank you, Ed, for coming on over here with me tonight. Even if it was this last minute, but I appreciate you for coming over. What do you have going on? Where can the people find you?
So the people can find me on Twitter at edfries12584. They can find me on Twitch at edfries2002. They can find me at my streaming home, Our Local Establishment Podcast. The logo's right there in my picture where my beautiful face would normally be. But no, you can go ahead and find me there. I co-host with Asher Pizarro, taking over every Tuesday night, where we talk about the greater things of the NXT division and the roster and everything that goes on with the NXT programming. I host VWR, Variant Wrestling Realities. We've been on a bit out of hiatus as I've been trying to find some guests for some episodes that I want to do, but we should be back hopefully soon within the next few months with another episode or two in the ready to go, as we talk about all the what ifs in professional wrestling. Right now on the All Elite podcasting platforms, you can go ahead and find episode 1, which is What If the Curtain Call Didn't Happen. It's a fantastic look at how the wrestling world would change with one moment changing slightly. You can also find, as Ashford said earlier, on our local establishment, the Year in Review, where we talked about AEW, Impact, New Japan, Stardom, and WWE, bringing together people who watch predominantly one wrestling brand and bringing them together to give an outsider's point of view of everybody else and an insider's point of view of the things that we all talk about and cover for the most part on a weekly basis. So it really gave a difference to all the wrestling shows where you have people who watch so much wrestling from so many different places to really bring it into, I watch this. This is my bubble. And this is the best people in my bubble.
Yeah, and to point out, because my co-host had to pick Bound for Glory as his pay-per-view of the year because it was the first pay-per-view we did together too. But no, it was definitely a great show. I enjoyed it, watching it live and seeing everybody talk about like the company they love and the people that are their favorites. But yeah, for those of you that know, Cody was the one representing Impact, so he talked about, his match of the year was definitely one of my favorite ones, and show of the year. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. I'm just telling you. I'm not gonna say it. You guys watch it, but I'm just letting you know a preview of like what they did. You did a feud of the year, I think it was match of the year, rest of the year, female and male as well. So different categories that applies to every company. So I enjoyed watching every perspective from every company. So if you haven't seen it, watch it. And yesterday you did Marvel Talk live with Andre, who's Melbo's partner too. So if you haven't seen it, they talk about what they're gonna do for the rest of the year for Marvel Talk. So I'm really excited for that too. I can't wait to do one of the episodes for Marvel Talk. But yeah, if you are a Marvel fan, definitely follow them because it will be a good way to catch up as they review the movies and the shows that do on Disney Plus. So whether you like either Disney Plus shows or the movies or both, this is the way to find their coverage. So definitely check that out. Our local establishments has and I think it's on your Twitch as well, the show from yesterday itself. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. For me, you can find me on my Twitter, which is Astrid Pizarro, and Instagram, Astrid Pizarro 20. As you said, I'm doing Taking Over with you on Tuesday. And for next week, like I said, we're going to do a Friday show talking about Impact from Thursday and doing the Hard to Kill post show. So we're really looking forward to that one. And like I said, you can find my NXT reviews on Women's Wrestling Talk. Tomorrow, Melbourne, I will be going live for Rayleigh's Wrestling Showcase, which I had to cancel last week because I've been sick. I'm still sick, but I'm doing better, kind of, in a way, now to talk, at least into the show. We're going to be talking about Mercedes doing her debut in New Japan, Charlotte's return. And we have a topic at hand as well of the top people we should be looking out for this year. So I'm really excited for that tomorrow. So 6 p.m. Eastern on my Twitch and YouTube will be going live to do that. So we're really looking forward to that episode. But other than that, I'm going to put in here to rate Jessica. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Thank you, Barry and Belle, for being in the chat tonight and supporting us. Hoping Cody will be back for next week when we do Hard to Kill. But I definitely send him your well wishes about his family emergency and hoping everything it's okay between them over there. And for him, definitely having my support. But yeah, we're hoping to see him next week. And again, thank you, Ed, for stepping in for him and doing the show with me tonight. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
But yeah, well, that's it for tonight. We'll see you guys next week on Friday. Have a good night.